I started to realize something was wrong when my projects, which had always been successful, started failing with no apparent explanation. It was frustrating and discouraging to see all my efforts go down the drain without understanding why. My night's sleep was interrupted by thoughts of what could be going wrong. I decided I couldn't let this continue and that I needed to investigate on my own. One night, after everyone had left, I stayed in the office, determined to find some clue that would help me understand what was happening. The silent, empty environment seemed almost conspiratorial, but my mind was made up. I started going through my files and documents, revisiting every detail of my projects and trying to find something that might have gone unnoticed. It was then that, while reviewing one of the reports, I noticed a change that I was sure I hadn't made. My heart raced. That wasn't me, I thought. I continued to dig and found more signs of manipulation. Files that I was sure were one way had been changed in subtle ways, but enough to compromise the entire project. As I continued my search, I heard a noise coming from the hallway. My heart almost came out of my mouth. Who could be here at this hour? I thought. I decided to hide behind a bookshelf and wait. To my surprise, it was Jack, my coworker, who appeared to be rummaging through something on his desk. He was nervous, looking around as if hoping not to be seen. "Jack?" I called, coming out from behind the bookshelf. He turned around, visibly surprised. "Emily? What are you doing here so late?" "I could ask you the same thing," I replied, trying to hide my distrust. I just had to sort out a few things." "You know, backlogged work," he replied with a forced smile. That only increased my suspicions. I decided I wouldn't confront him at that point. He needed more proof and a more elaborate plan. After Jack left, I continued my investigation and found more evidence of sabotage. It was clear that someone was deliberately trying to undermine my work, and all clues pointed to him. The next day, I invited Lisa, the IT employee, for coffee. I knew she had skills in hacking systems and could help me gather evidence. "Lisa, I need your help with something very serious," I began. "Of course, Emily." "What's going on?" she asked, clearly worried. "I'm suspicious that someone is sabotaging my projects. I found several changes in my files that I didn't make. I think it's Jack, but I need concrete proof," I explained. Lisa agreed to help me and we began working together, in secret. She used her skills to access emails and files that could give us the evidence we needed. Each discovery increased my certainty that Jack was behind everything. With the evidence in hand, I reached out to Mark from the legal department to make sure everything we were doing was within the law. "Mark, I need your legal advice on something delicate," he said. "Of course, Emily." "What is this about?" he asked, curious. I explained the entire situation and showed the evidence that Lisa and I had gathered. Mark committed to helping us prepare a meticulous presentation for the company's annual meeting, where we would lay out all of Jack's actions. As the day of the meeting approached, the pressure increased. I was determined to expose Jack and make sure he didn't harm anyone else. Finally, the day arrived and, in front of all colleagues and superiors, I projected Jack's actions. The revelation was shocking, and murmurs of outrage filled the room. The feeling of relief and satisfaction at seeing Jack finally get what he deserved was indescribable. Not only did I regain my credibility, but I also got the promotion I so deserved. This showed me that, with determination and reliable allies, it is possible to turn the tide even in the most difficult situations. That morning, while drinking his coffee, my mind was racing. I had discovered that Jack, the colleague who always seemed so helpful and friendly, was responsible for the sabotage that had been undermining my projects. Every detail began to fall into place, and the image I previously had of him was falling apart like a house of cards. "I can't believe it was him all along," I thought, still a little stunned by the discovery. I knew that confronting him directly could be a mistake. Jack was shrewd and trusted by his superiors. If I wanted to unmask him, I would need to be smart and strategic. The first step in my plan was to gather evidence. I needed something concrete to present, not just suspicions. I decided the best way to do this would be without him noticing. I began to watch his movements more closely, keeping a close eye on everything he did. During a coffee break, I tried to probe a little more about his intentions. "Jack, did you see the latest email about Project X? It looks like there were some unexpected problems," I commented casually, hoping to see his reaction. He smiled, that smile that now seemed fake to me. "Yes, Emily. I heard you had some problems. If you need help, I'm here," he said, his voice filled with false sympathy. "Thanks, Jack. I'll try to resolve it, but I'll let you know if anything happens," I replied, remaining calm. Inside, I was boiling. His ability to lie so blatantly to my face was impressive. I decided I needed help. Then I thought of Lisa, an IT worker known for her hacking skills. She was discreet and had a reputation for being trustworthy. One night, after work, I went to her office. "Hi, Lisa. Can I talk to you for a minute?" I asked, trying to sound casual, but the urgency in my voice was evident. "Of course, Emily. Come in," she said, closing the door behind me. "What is happening?" I explained the entire situation, from the first signs of sabotage to the recent discovery about Jack. Lisa listened to me carefully, nodding from time to time. "Wow, that's serious. And are you sure it was him?" he asked, with a worried expression. "Yes, I'm pretty sure. But I need proof." "And that's where you come in," I replied, hoping she would agree to help me. "Okay, I'll help you. But this needs to be done very carefully. Let's start by gathering some information from the system. I'll access the activity logs and see what I find," she said, already turning to the computer. Over the next few days, Lisa and I worked quietly, gathering every piece of evidence we could find. We discovered spoofed emails, tampered with files, and various other forms of sabotage that Jack had orchestrated. Each new discovery made me more determined to expose his actions. Meanwhile, I maintained my facade of normalcy at work, interacting with Jack and the other colleagues as if nothing was happening. It was difficult, but I knew I needed to be patient. One afternoon, while we were having coffee, Jack casually commented, "Emily, you seem a little stressed lately. Is everything okay?" I smiled, hiding my anger. "Ah, it's just the projects. But thanks for asking," I replied, keeping my tone light. Inside, I knew the time to act was approaching. She was more determined than ever to turn the tables and make sure Jack paid for his actions. When I realized that Jack was behind the sabotage, I knew I needed to act cautiously. Confronting him directly would be risky and could even make my situation worse. It was then that I remembered Lisa, an IT employee known for her skills and hacking systems. I knew that if anyone could help me gather evidence against Jack, it was her. One late afternoon, I waited until most of my colleagues had left to approach Lisa. I found her focused on her screen, typing quickly. As I approached, she looked up and smiled. "Hi, Lisa. Do you have a minute?" I asked, trying not to sound desperate. "Of course, Emily. What do you need?" she replied, curious. I explained the situation to Lisa, detailing all the sabotage I had discovered and how I was sure Jack was behind it. She listened intently, her eyes shining with interest and indignation. "This is unacceptable. If he's really doing this, we need concrete proof," said Lisa, already starting to formulate a plan. "I will need to access some systems and emails. Are you willing to help me?" I agreed immediately. I knew I couldn't do this alone. We spent the entire night at the office, with Lisa hacking into the company's systems carefully so as not to arouse suspicion. She was a true master of her craft, navigating codes and files with a precision that amazed me. "Look at this," she said, pointing at the screen. "Here is a spoofed email that Jack sent using your name. He altered the attached files so that they appeared incomplete. This is exactly what I needed," he said, feeling a mix of relief and anger. "But we need more proof." Lisa continued her investigation, discovering a series of doctored emails and documents. It was clear that Jack had a pattern and was determined to bring me down to climb the career ladder. But with these tests, I already felt safer to move forward with my plan. The next day, I reached out to Mark, an astute lawyer in the company's legal department. He has always been an ethical and fair professional, and I knew I could trust him to ensure our actions were within the law. "Mark, I need your help," I began, explaining the entire situation and showing the evidence that Lisa and I had gathered. Mark frowned as he looked through the documents. "This is serious, Emily. Sabotage is not something the company can ignore, but we need to make sure we are proceeding in the right way." "I know, that's why I came to you. I want to make sure everything is done legally and that Jack has no way of escaping the consequences." Mark nodded. "We will prepare a solid case. We need to organize this evidence so that it is irrefutable. Are you willing to see this through to the end?" "Yes, I am," I replied with determination. "I will not let him continue to harm my career and that of others." We spent the next few weeks working together, reviewing all the documents and preparing a detailed presentation for the company's annual meeting. The pressure increased every day, but I knew I was on the right path. With Lisa and Mark by my side, I was confident that we would finally be able to unmask Jack and ensure justice was served. Collaborating with Lisa and Mark not only helped me gather the necessary evidence, but also gave me the strength to keep fighting. I knew I wasn't alone in this battle, and that made all the difference. Finally, we were ready. The annual meeting was approaching, and I felt a mix of nervousness and excitement. I knew this was my chance to turn the tables and show everyone the truth about Jack. And with Lisa and Mark by my side, nothing could stop us. Meanwhile, Jack continued to gain the trust of his superiors and even began a relationship with Clara, a project manager who had always been highly respected in the company. The situation became more and more complicated for me. Clara, unaware of Jack's actions, began to pressure me, thinking I was incompetent. "Emily, we need to talk," she said one day, calling me into her office. I knew this conversation wouldn't be easy, but I maintained my composure. "Sit down, please," Clara said, pointing to the chair in front of her desk. I sat and waited, trying to control the anxiety that was rising inside me. "Emily, I'm worried about your performance on the last few projects. I know you have potential, but it seems like something is always going wrong." "What's going on?" she asked, with a tone of genuine concern. I took a deep breath before responding, choosing my words carefully. "Clara, I understand your concern. I'm also frustrated with the recent results. I'm sure there's something more going on here, and I'm looking into it." Clara frowned, clearly unconvinced. "Investigating? What do you mean by that?" "Look, Clara, I can't go into too many details right now, but I have reason to believe that someone is sabotaging my projects," I said, trying to remain calm. "I'm working to gather evidence, and when I have everything, I'll present it to you and the superiors." She looked at me for a moment, evaluating my words. "I hope you know what you're doing, Emily. The company can't afford to keep having these problems. I need results." "I understand, Clara. And I promise I'll work it out," I replied firmly. I left Clara's office feeling even more isolated, but determined to continue with the plan. I knew Jack was manipulating the situation to his advantage, and his relationship with Clara only complicated things more. Increasingly, I felt like a stranger in my own work environment. On a coffee break, I met Lisa in the break room. "So, Emily, any news?" she asked, as she grabbed a cup of coffee. I talked to Clara. "She's putting pressure on me, thinking I'm to blame for the failed projects," I replied, sighing. Lisa shook her head. "I can't believe he's manipulating Clara too. We need to act fast." "I know. The pressure is mounting and I need this proof as soon as possible," I said, trying to maintain hope. "How are things on your end?" Lisa smiled. "I have good news. I managed to access some emails and files that Jack tampered with. I'll show you after lunch." That news brought a ray of hope. We needed to work quickly and accurately. We knew that any mistake could be disastrous. At the end of the day, I met with Mark to discuss next steps. "Mark, we need to make sure everything we're doing is within the law. We can't give Jack any loopholes to get away with it. Don't worry, Emily, he replied, with the confidence I so admired. We're following all legal procedures. We're going to catch this guy. Thank you, Mark. I don't know what I would do without you, I said, feeling a rush of gratitude. He smiled. We're in this together, Emily. Let's expose him. Despite the pressure and isolation, Lisa and Mark's support gave me the strength to continue. She knew the annual meeting would be the defining moment, and she was determined to expose Jack once and for all, no matter how difficult the road to get there. As the weeks passed, the tension surrounding the company's annual meeting only increased. I knew it would be my big chance to unmask Jack and show everyone the truth about his actions. Lisa, with her incredible ability to hack systems and unearth hidden information, had done a phenomenal job. She was able to access spoofed emails and doctored files that Jack had used to sabotage my projects. This evidence was exactly what I needed to build a solid case against him. Emily, take a look at this, Lisa said, beckoning me to the computer screen. I found an email Jack sent to our boss, manipulating data from his latest project. I approached the screen, my heart pounding. That's perfect, Lisa. With this, he won't be able to deny what he did. But we need to be careful, she replied. We will ensure that all evidence is organized and that the presentation is irrefutable. With the evidence in hand, I turned to Mark, the astute lawyer who had become my ally in this battle. We set up a secret meeting in a discreet coffee shop, away from the watchful eyes of coworkers. Mark arrived with his usual serious expression, but with a gleam of determination in his eyes. Emily, Lisa, you've got incriminating evidence, he said, analyzing the documents we'd brought. Now, we need to ensure that our approach to the meeting is impeccable. We will prepare a meticulous presentation, with all the details. We spent hours discussing the strategy. Mark suggested that we start the presentation with a summary of my projects, showing how they had been successful until, suddenly, they started to fail. Then we would present the evidence of Jack's sabotage, including the forged emails and tampered files. We need to make it impossible to deny, Mark emphasized. If we do this correctly, there will be no way for him to escape. The days leading up to the meeting were intense. I felt the pressure building, but I knew I was on the right path. During one particularly difficult evening, Lisa met me in the IT room, where I was reviewing presentation slides. Emily, are you okay? She asked, her soft voice breaking the silence in the room. I'm just a little nervous, I admitted, looking at the computer screen. This needs to be perfect, Lisa. We can't let Jack get away. It's going to be perfect, she said with conviction. We're all in this together. Let's unmask him once and for all. The morning of the annual meeting, I felt a mix of nervousness and determination. I dressed in my best professional attire and took a deep breath before entering the conference room. Mark and Lisa were already there, waiting for me. Jack was also present, with his usual smile and a confidence that would soon be destroyed. When the meeting began, the company's CEO made the usual announcements and then opened space for project presentations. It was my turn. I walked to the stage, my heart beating like a drum, and began my performance. Good morning, everyone. Today, I'd like to share with you some challenges I've faced recently in my projects, I began, keeping my tone firm and professional. Unfortunately, these challenges were not merely technical or market-based. They were caused by internal sabotage. The room was completely silent. I projected onto the screen the forged emails and doctored files that Lisa had found. I explained how Jack had manipulated the data and intentionally undermined my work. These actions not only sabotaged my projects, but also harmed the performance of our team and the company as a whole, I continued, looking directly at Jack, whose expressions began to reveal his panic. Mark took the floor next, explaining the legal implications of Jack's actions and how it affected the integrity of the company. When we finished, there was an awkward silence, followed by murmurs of indignation among colleagues. Jack tried to defend himself, but the evidence was irrefutable. Clara, shocked and disappointed, ended the relationship with him right then and there. Jack's superiors had no choice but to fire him immediately. I felt a rush of relief and satisfaction as I saw Jack finally get what he deserved. The meeting ended on a note of justice. Not only did I regain my credibility, but I also secured the promotion I so deserved. Mark, Lisa, and I hugged, celebrating our victory. From that moment on, we knew that our friendship and partnership would be unbreakable. Days before the meeting, I was in the office, trying to finalize some details on my latest project, when I received an email from Jack. The subject was straightforward: transfer of responsibility. Upon opening the email, my heart accelerated. Jack was trying to transfer responsibility for an important project to me, the same one he had previously sabotaged. I knew this was the opportunity one needed to catch Jack in the act. With the help of Lisa, who was always just a click away, we decided to monitor every step Jack was taking. I called her immediately. "Lisa, you won't believe what happened. Jack is trying to dump a sabotaged project in my lap. We need to use this to our advantage," I said, my voice shaking with excitement and nervousness. "Emily, this is perfect. We can get more evidence against him. I'll prepare the systems so we can monitor everything in real time." "Stay calm, we're in control," Lisa replied, her voice filled with determination. With Lisa's instructions, I began to accept Jack's project transfer. Every email, every document he sent me was carefully archived and analyzed. I spent hours in the office, going over every detail, while Lisa and Mark, the astute lawyer who was helping us, made sure everything was legal. "Emily, don't worry. All the evidence we're collecting is clear and irrefutable. Jack won't be able to deny any of it," said Mark, in one of our secret meetings. The nights became long and exhausting. I could barely sleep, knowing I was about to expose the truth. One night, while reviewing files in the empty office, Jack suddenly appeared. "Emily, it's late. What are you still doing here?" he asked, with false concern. Just trying to get things in order. You know how these projects can be," I replied, trying to hide my tension. Jack smiled a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Well, if you need help, just call. We're all on the same team, after all." "Of course, Jack. I appreciate the offer," I replied, forcing a smile. As soon as he left, I sent an urgent message to Lisa. "Jack just left here. I think he's suspicious." "Don't worry, Emily. We're almost there. Just stick with the plan," Lisa replied, her confidence giving me the strength to move forward. As the day of the meeting approached, the pressure increased. I spent hours preparing my presentation, going over every detail with Lisa and Mark. She was determined to unmask Jack once and for all. The night before the meeting, Mark called me. "Emily, we're ready. Everything is prepared. Just stay calm and follow the plan." "Thanks, Mark. I don't know what I would do without you," I replied, feeling a mixture of gratitude and anxiety. At that moment, I realized I was no longer alone. Lisa and Mark were not just colleagues but allies, friends who were willing to fight alongside me. And that gave me the strength I needed to face the final challenge. The morning of the meeting, I dressed carefully, choosing an outfit that made me feel confident and prepared. I looked in the mirror, taking a deep breath. "You can do it, Emily. It's time to turn the tables." With my heart pounding, I entered the meeting room, ready to reveal the truth. During the annual meeting, I was nervous but determined. All colleagues and superiors were present, and I knew that this was the decisive moment. With the help of Lisa and Mark, he had prepared a flawless presentation that would unmask Jack once and for all. When it was my turn to speak, I stood up and walked to the front of the room. The silence was palpable. I could feel everyone's curious and attentive eyes. I took a deep breath and started. "Good morning, everyone. Today, I would like to share something very serious with you. Over the last few months, I have been experiencing inexplicable difficulties in my projects, something that has never happened before. Initially, I thought it was some error on my part, but I soon realized that there was something more. And, with the help of some people, I managed to discover the truth. The first projection appeared on the screen, a doctored email. This is one of many spoofed emails I found in my system. And it wasn't difficult to trace the origin. All of these emails have one thing in common: they were altered by Jack. The room fell into an awkward silence. Some colleagues exchanged glances and whispers began to emerge. Jack, sitting in the back, frowned, clearly uncomfortable. I continued. In addition to emails, I also found tampered project files. Here's an example. I designed a file with clearly manipulated data. These changes were made to ensure my designs failed, and once again, all clues lead to Jack. Jack stood up abruptly. "This is nonsense. You're making all this up to harm me." Mark, who was sitting next to me, stood up and said calmly, "Jack, the evidence speaks for itself. In addition to the emails and files, we have testimonies from colleagues who saw you accessing Emily's computer outside of office hours." Clara, who was sitting next to Jack, looked at him with an expression of shock and disappointment. "Jack, is this true?" He stammered, trying to come up with an explanation, but it was clear he was cornered. I was just trying to help. I never wanted to." I interrupted. "Jack, your actions were not to help. They were to sabotage my work and make me look incompetent. You wanted to climb the career ladder at the expense of others. And I'm not the only one who suffered from this." The outrage in the room was palpable. Murmurs of disapproval became louder. Clara, visibly shaken, turned to Jack. "I can't believe you did this. We're finishing now." Jack's superiors, who until then had been silent, finally spoke out. "Jack, your actions are unacceptable. You are fired immediately." He was speechless, his face red with shame and anger. He tried to defend himself, but he knew there was nothing else he could do. He left the room under the contemptuous looks of everyone present. I felt a wave of relief and satisfaction. Finally, the truth came out, and justice was served. After the meeting, I was congratulated by several colleagues and received the much-deserved promotion. Furthermore, the company decided to implement new policies to prevent future sabotage, ensuring a fairer and safer work environment for everyone. And the bonds I formed with Lisa and Mark during this journey grew into a solid, true friendship. At the end of the day, as I was packing my things to leave, Lisa came to my table. "You were amazing today, Emily." I smiled, feeling an inner peace that I hadn't felt in a long time. "I couldn't have done it without you and Mark. We're a great team." And so, we closed that chapter of our lives, ready to face any challenge that came our way, knowing that together, we were invincible. Jack, taken by surprise and speechless, tries to defend himself, but the evidence is irrefutable. Clara, shocked and disappointed, ends the relationship right there. Jack's superiors decide to dismiss him immediately. Emily feels a wave of relief and satisfaction when she sees Jack finally getting what he deserves. I was there, in the center of the meeting room, my heart pounding, while all eyes were fixed on the screen where Jack's actions were being projected. The room was plunged into an awkward silence, broken only by the sound of the projector and the murmurs of indignation that began to emerge. Jack, who until then exuded confidence, was now pale and speechless, an expression of pure shock written across his face. "This is absurd. This evidence is forged." Jack finally managed to stammer out, but his voice was shaking, betraying his false bravery. "I think you should reconsider your words, Jack," I said, trying to remain calm and composed. "The evidence is irrefutable. Every email, every tampered file, everything points to you." Clara, who was next to Jack, seemed to be in shock. Her eyes were wide, and she looked from me to him, as if trying to understand how the person she was involved with could have done something so low. "Jack, is this true? Did you really do all this?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Jack tried to hold Clara's hand, but she backed away, which seemed to collapse what little emotional control he still had. "Clara, please, you have to believe me. I would never do something like that." "But you did," I said, firmly. and we have all the evidence to show it." At this time, the company's CEO, Mr. Thompson, stood up. He was not known for his patience, and his expression clearly showed that he was furious. "This is unacceptable, Jack. We trusted you, and you betrayed that trust in an immoral and unethical manner. Your actions leave you no choice but to be immediately fired," he declared in a voice that left no room for argument. Jack looked like he had been hit by a truck. He looked around the room, as if looking for someone who could defend him, but was met with only disapproving looks. "Mr. Thompson, please, can I explain?" "There's nothing to explain, Jack," interrupted Mr. Thompson. "You are dismissed. Please leave the room immediately." Clara, with tears in her eyes, stood up and looked at Jack with a mixture of anger and sadness. "I can't believe you did this." "It's over between us," she said before leaving the room, leaving Jack completely alone. I felt a wave of relief and satisfaction. Finally, the truth came out, and Jack was getting what he deserved. As he left the room, head down, I looked at Lisa and Mark, who were at the back of the room. They gave me a nod, signaling that everything had gone according to plan. After Jack left, Mr. Thompson turned to me. "Emily, I would like to apologize for what you've been through. Your skills and dedication to the company are unquestionable, and it's clear that this incident in no way reflects your competence. The promotion is yours, and I hope you continue to bring your talent and creativity for our team." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Thank you very much, Mr. Thompson. I promise to continue doing my best for the company." As we left the meeting room, Lisa and Mark approached me. "You were amazing, Emily," Lisa said, giving me a hug. "I couldn't have done it without you," I replied. Mark smiled and added, "Now, let's celebrate your promotion. You deserve it." Finally, after so much effort and nervousness, I felt like the weight had been lifted off my shoulders. Jack was out, and justice was served. I knew there was still a lot to be done, especially now that we discovered that Jack wasn't acting alone, but at that moment, all I wanted was to enjoy the victory and the new phase of my career, surrounded by people I could trust. With Jack unmasked, the feeling of relief and accomplishment that washed over me was indescribable. Finally, the whole truth had come to light, and I had regained not only my credibility, but also the trust of my colleagues and superiors. It was a long road to get here, full of obstacles, but in the end, justice prevailed. The morning after the meeting, I was called into a private meeting with the company's CEO, Mr. Thompson. Upon entering the room, I was greeted with a warm smile. "Emily, please sit down," he said, pointing to the chair in front of his desk. I sat down, still a little nervous, but confident that my dedication and hard work would finally be recognized. "Emily, I want to congratulate you on your exceptional work and courage in exposing the truth. It was not an easy task, and you handled it brilliantly. That is why, as of today, you are promoted to the position of project manager." My excitement was palpable. "Thank you, Mr. Thompson. This means a lot to me. I have always done my best, and it is gratifying to see that recognized." He nodded, with a serious look. "Additionally, we are implementing new safety and ethics policies to prevent something like this from happening again. And I want you to be part of this review committee. Your experience will be invaluable." "It will be an honor, Mr. Thompson. I want to ensure that the company continues to be a place where ethics and integrity are valued." I left the meeting with a feeling of accomplishment. Soon after, I met Lisa and Mark in the company cafeteria to share the good news. They already knew about my promotion, but wanted to hear it directly from me. "So, project manager, how do you feel?" Lisa teased, with a mischievous smile. "It's surreal," I replied, laughing. "But I couldn't have done it without you. Lisa, your skills were crucial. And Mark, your legal guidance was impeccable. We're a team, and I'm so grateful for that." Mark nodded seriously. "We're in this together, Emily. And I'm sure this is just the first of many battles we can face together." Lisa agreed. "You deserve it, Emily. And now, let's make sure the company becomes a place where no one else has to go through what you did." From that moment on, our bonds grew even stronger. Work meetings turned into get-togethers with friends, where we discussed not only projects but also our personal lives. I discovered that Lisa had a hidden talent for music and that Mark was an avid wine collector. These small revelations brought us closer and created a solid foundation of friendship. Over time, the company began to transform. New safety and ethics policies were implemented, and I was actively involved in training and workshops to educate employees about the importance of integrity in the workplace. My promotion brought new challenges, but also opportunities for personal and professional growth. One day, while reviewing a report, I received a message from Lisa. "We found something interesting. Meet you in the conference room in 10 minutes?" Curious, I went to meet them. When I arrived, Lisa and Mark had serious expressions. "Emily, it looks like Jack wasn't acting alone," Lisa said, showing some documents. The revelation brought a new level of complexity to our mission. But, with the trust and friendship we built, we knew we were ready to face any challenge. Together, we decided that exposing the entire group would be our next goal. The plot deepened, but I was ready, knowing that with Lisa and Mark by my side, we could accomplish anything. In the end, when we thought the worst was over, I discovered that Jack wasn't acting alone. It was a huge shock, but also a chance to dig deeper and solve the problem at its root. I was in my office, already feeling victorious with the promotion in hand, when Lisa walked in, looking agitated. "Emily, we need to talk." "I think I've discovered something big," she said, eyes wide. "Lisa, what happened?" "I thought we already resolved everything," I replied, trying to remain calm. "I thought so too, but I kept investigating, and I found more emails and messages that indicate that Jack was part of a larger group. They were manipulating results and sabotaging other colleagues as well," Lisa explained, as she showed me the documents on her tablet. I was speechless for a moment, absorbing the new information. It wasn't just about me, it was about an entire network of corruption within the company. "We can't leave it like this. We need to expose them all," he finally said, with renewed determination. "I agree. But we're going to need more evidence and a well-thought-out plan. I'll continue to dig through the files and you talk to Mark to make sure we're following all legal procedures," Lisa suggested. "Perfect. I'll call him right now," I replied. I picked up the phone and called Mark, who answered quickly. "Mark, we have a new problem." Lisa discovered that Jack was part of a larger group within the company. "We need to expose them all, but I want to make sure we are doing everything within the law," I quickly explained. "I understand, Emily. I will prepare the necessary documents and make sure everything is in order. We can gather the evidence and present it to the company's board and lawyers. This goes beyond simple sabotage, it is a matter of corporate ethics and legality," Mark replied, with the same efficiency as always. Over the next few weeks, Lisa, Mark and I worked tirelessly. Lisa managed to hack more emails and internal messages, revealing the full extent of the sabotage network. Mark reviewed every detail, ensuring we had a solid case. With each new discovery, my indignation grew, but so did my determination to cleanse the company of this rot. The day arrived for the extraordinary meeting called by the board. We were all nervous, but we knew it was the right thing to do. I walked into the meeting room with Lisa and Mark by my side, feeling the pressure of everyone's eyes on us. "Good morning, everyone," I began, trying to keep my voice steady. "We are here today not just to discuss Jack's actions, but something much bigger. We discovered that he was part of a group within the company that was sabotaging colleagues and manipulating results for their own benefit." The room was completely silent. I continued, projecting the emails and messages Lisa had found. As the evidence appeared on the screen, the murmurs of outrage grew louder. "This evidence is irrefutable. These people not only harmed colleagues but also tarnished the integrity of our company. We cannot allow this to continue," he concludes, looking directly at the CEO. The CEO, visibly shaken, stood up and said, "Emily, Lisa, Mark, I thank you for bringing this to our attention. We will take immediate action to investigate and punish everyone involved." You three have demonstrated an unwavering commitment to ethics and fairness, and this will not go unnoticed. At the end of the day, the board decided to dismiss everyone involved in the sabotage network. The company also announced strict new policies to prevent future unethical actions. I felt a mixture of relief and pride. Not only did I regain my credibility and get the promotion, I also helped clean up the company. Lisa, Mark and I became more than colleagues. We formed a solid friendship based on trust and mutual respect. And most of all, I emerged from this experience not just as a promoted employee, but as a true corporate hero.